What's up, guys? Today I wanted to do a slightly different type of review. Typically I just do something where it's kind of like a voiceover and then the shots underneath it. And I thought for this one I might do something a little different. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Angstrom Lubes, and I've got a couple cubes here. We have a Volk Power non-magnetic, we have a GAN Air SM, a GTS 2M, a regular Volk, and then a Mooch M. And I wanted to just kind of try the lubes in all of these. I've been using these lubes in various cubes since I got them, but I thought I would do something kind of with live impressions on camera. So we're gonna go ahead and try them. First, we're gonna start with the Volk Power here, and we're gonna use Dignitas in it because that's the faster one. So between the two, this one is Dignitas and this one is Gravitas. You can tell based on the logo on the little box. So for this one, it's kind of etched in with the black, and then this one, it's just the black creates the logo. I don't know if that actually made any sense at all. It probably didn't, but anyways, so Dignitas is the faster one. Gravitas is a much thicker one. If I like open this one, hold it upside down, it's not gonna do anything. If I did that with Dignitas, it would probably fall all over my desk. So this one, a lot of people have actually said this is supposed to be more of a core lube, and I kind of disagree with that. I mean, I'm sure you can use it as a core lube because it's thick, but people make it sound like its core intention is to be used as a core lube, and I think it's great at slowing cubes down. Typically, I would use something like weight 5 to slow my cubes down, and it does work, but at the same time, when that lube breaks in, I feel like it does get really fast, which can kind of be a downfall. And from playing around with this, that doesn't seem to happen with Gravitas. So anyways, gonna go ahead and try Dignitas in the Volk here. And they both come with these little applicators. So when you order it, you'll get these. Take out an edge and a corner here. So we're just gonna dip the little brush in, get some lube. And my plan first is just gonna go ahead and be to put some on this track right here. Just kind of coat that right there. It's a little hard on the power just because there's a little indent there, so I'm kind of worried about the lube just kind of dropping in there. But we'll do another scoop here. Put some right here. And I'm noticing when using the applicator, it kind of picks up a lot of lube. I'm sure you can kind of dictate how much it does or doesn't pick up, but just got to be kind of careful with the application there. Pick a little up here. We're just going to put it right there. Put a little bit. Same on the other side. And then we're going to do one more for the edge here. We're just going to kind of put it on the piece here. Okay. And then I'm just gonna do a little on the corner base just because I think that kind of helps spread lube around the cube. Just kind of coat the whole piece there. All right, gonna go ahead and pop this back in the cube. Nice little one glass layer there. So it's interesting. I actually don't feel like on the power it changed too much. Try turning it a little bit longer. So yeah, I don't actually feel like it did too much to the power here. I mean, it did make a change, but nothing, I wouldn't say it really made it better or worse really. It just kind of changed the feel a little bit. Cube didn't really get faster or slower. Maybe a tiny bit slower, but it was also completely cleaned out and there was no lube, and oftentimes cubes can be pretty fast that way. So yeah, I'm just gonna say this one was pretty neutral. Not a whole lot happened on this one. So that was Dignitas on that one. On the, actually, you know what? We're gonna go ahead and do the GTS 2. So I have already tried Gravitas in my GTS 2M, and I thought it worked really, really well. One of the reasons I haven't been using my GTS 2 as much is because I find that it's often too fast for me and I overshoot a ton. So I thought, you know, maybe Gravitas would help with that, and it has. The cube's actually been really good. It just, I think, could use a tiny bit more in there to help slow it down just a little more, but overall it's pretty good. So we're gonna go ahead and try that real quick here. All right, so like I said, I have already put a bit in this cube, so I'm not gonna use a lot because I don't want it to be really slow. I just want a tiny bit more. So I'm just gonna pick up a small amount there. Looks like there's kind of like a hair there. Let's get that off of there. Just gonna go ahead and put a tiny bit on the piece there and then inside the track. And then we'll spread the rest on the corner here. Okay. So immediately with this one, I can feel it slower, like right away, I can tell. Yeah, so right now this cube is in a pretty good spot for what I would say I would like. I can tell the lube is gonna break in a little more as I solve on it. But this is really, really controllable now, which is something I always appreciate. So yeah, overall, I think that Gravitas worked really well in the GTS2. Definitely really like the lube in there. You can kind of achieve a similar effect with thicker lubes, I think. You know, weight 5 gets close, but like I said, it tends to eventually get faster. Even though it's a thicker lube, weight 5, when broken in a lot, will get really fast. And with Gravitas, I don't really see that happening yet. I've been using this for maybe a week now, and you know, I just did another little bit and I think it'll be good from here. So yeah, I don't know. I think Gravitas worked really well in this. Next, we're gonna go ahead and try the regular Volk here. And now with all these other ones, minus this one had Gravitas in it already. This one's clean, this one's clean. This one has been, it's just kind of an older cube. It's just got some old lube in there. And I was just kind of curious what would happen if you mixed the lubes in one type of cube, if you used regular silicone with the Angstrom Lube. So we're just gonna go ahead and see what happens. I really don't think much is gonna happen. It's probably not gonna be that great, but you know, we'll go ahead and give it a shot. I would say with these lubes, I would probably recommend cleaning your cube out before you use them to get the full effect. We'll just go ahead and drop some on the corner here. Yeah, so I can immediately tell that the Angstrom Lube and the silicone that was in there, followed by probably all the plastic dust, didn't really mix that well. It just kind of gave it, I mean, like I can tell the Dignitas is in there, but mixing it with silicone probably doesn't really do you a whole lot, just because the whole idea is that with these lubes, you don't have that draggy feeling or kind of that sticky feeling that you get with silicone lubes. So mixing, you don't really get the best of either world. You're just kind of doing this weird little mix. So definitely would not recommend mixing the Angstrom lubes with regular silicone. From what I can tell though, doing something like Gravitas and then like D&M is fine. But yeah, definitely wouldn't recommend mixing silicone and Angstrom lubes. Next up, we've got this Gan Air SM here. We're gonna go ahead and try using just a little bit of Gravitas in here just to see what happens. Right now it's pretty fast. It was just recently cleaned out, so of course it's gonna be a little fast. We're gonna go ahead, put some Gravitas in here, see what happens. So I'm only gonna use a pretty small amount in here because I don't want the cube to be really slow. And I can tell if you were to use a lot of this, your cube is gonna be really slow. So I don't wanna do that. I just wanna use just a small amount in the cube just to kind of see what it does. I'm just gonna use just a little more. and just a little on the corner. We're gonna call it good there. One rule with lubing that, you know, I mean, I'm sure everyone knows is it's always better to apply a smaller amount because you can always add more, but it's definitely hard to take the lube away. This is really hard to get back in. Holy cow. I like actually can't get this piece back in. Okay, there we go. Phew. So I can definitely tell that it made the cube quite a bit smoother, which is nice because the Air SM is already a pretty smooth cube, so making it even smoother is kind of crazy. And it's definitely a little more controllable. I can tell there's a couple spots, maybe I would reapply just a little bit more over here. Lube feels just a little uneven. It feels like maybe a tiny bit slower on this side. Well, maybe not. Maybe I just needed to solve it a little bit more. But yeah, definitely it did make the cube a little bit nicer. It's a little bit more controllable. It's a little smoother, which is nice. And now, you know, honestly, I'm just gonna go ahead and see what happens when you apply some Dignitas in there as well. I don't really know what happens when you mix them, so let's just go ahead and see. And I'm not gonna take this part again because I had such a hard time getting it back together. All right, so we're just gonna put some on that edge and corner and just start breaking in. All right, so after trying it a little bit, I can tell that the Dignitas is in there and it did get just a little bit quicker, but I feel like mixing the two would be a little counterintuitive only because one is a slower lube and one is a faster lube, so I don't know what you would really expect to get out of that combo, kind of like a middle ground, but you could just use a little less gravitas and probably achieve a similar result. But yeah, I mean, the cube feels nice. Like, I definitely think the lubes worked really well in the cube. There's nothing bad to say about it. It's a different feel than most cubes you would get. You don't feel that silicone, the kind of like small draggy. Though I will say, with gravitas, I do feel like you can kind of feel that lube a little bit. Maybe it takes more time to break in, but definitely on my GTS2 here. Like, I can definitely feel that there's some lube in there, but I love how this one feels. I think this feels phenomenal right now. I think with Dignitas, it's definitely a lube that kind of keeps more true to what bare bone plastic feels like, but definitely adds lube in it so there's not so much friction, which is kind of the whole idea behind it, is that you don't have to feel the stickiness of what silicone is in there. So anyways, the last cube that we have here is a Mooch M. I've actually already lubed this with Angstrom Lubes, but it's been a little while and I've broken the cube in quite a bit, so we're gonna go ahead and put just a little bit more in and see if it helps. So honestly, right there, that's probably a lot of lube to put on there. It is a 4x4, so it's gonna have more places to spread. So I'm only gonna put like a tiny bit more on maybe like an internal, and then we're just gonna call it good there because I doubt it needs much more than that. So after doing a solve on it now, the lube definitely got a little bit faster. Like I said, this was previously lubed with only Dignitas. I've just broken it in a lot, and I wanted to add a little bit more just to see what would kind of happen. And it got a little bit of a speed boost. Nothing too crazy, but definitely feels a little more fresh now. And when you're turning it, it feels like not scratchy, but not scratchy or sandy. It's really hard to describe without someone actually just trying it. It just feels like a very small like really thin layer of lube kind of between the pieces, or a little thin coating that just kind of helps the pieces slide a little nicer. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. I think it works pretty well on here. I don't know if I would say it's the best combination. Maybe if we threw D&M in here, actually, that would be pretty good. We're gonna go ahead and try that really quick. All right, so we've got some D&M. Let's just go ahead and do a couple drops. There. Then we'll do one right there. Let's see how that does. So mixing D&M in here actually worked really, really nicely. The cube got a lot faster, and I think it's a pretty nice speed for a Mooch. I think a lot of people would kind of like the speed. I don't know how long it's gonna last, that combination. You know, I don't know if it'll be a long time or maybe just a couple averages, but those definitely mixed really well. I know one thing or a complaint I've had is that something like Weight 5, which is my personal primary lube that I like to use, does not mix super well with D&M. In fact, I would pretty much never advise to mix those two because I just don't think it works. I've tried it in multiple cubes, and every time the cube just gets really slow after a couple solves. So definitely wouldn't advise mixing those. But the Angstrom Lube, it mixed really nicely. So yeah, that definitely worked pretty well. So if I was gonna sum these up, I would definitely be using Gravitas as more of a slow my cube down. This cube is a little too uncontrollable for me, so I'm gonna put that in the cube. That worked really, really well in my GTS2. I'm gonna have to keep playing with it and see if, you know, how long it really lasts, if it holds that kind of feel. But that worked really well in my GTS2, so I'm extremely happy with how that turned out. Has a really nice feel to it. Cube feels really smooth, just feels solid. I like how that one feels. Dignitas, I'm a little more mixed on. I think it does work well in my 4x4. I know that when I used it in Sarah's cubes, she definitely liked how it felt. Like I said, to me, it just feels like a really thin coating between the pieces that just kind of helps there be a little less friction. Not sure if I'm as sold on that one, but I do think in general, if people were gonna pick one up, it would probably be that one. I think that's kind of the one people would prefer the most, because I don't think it's super often that people want to make their cubes slower. I know I'm a little bit weirder in the sense that I like my cubes to be a little more controllable. So yeah, I don't know. I think it worked well, but just it didn't really stand out to me that much. It does give the cube a unique feel, but I'm just so used to that silicone feel, and I just kind of like how that one is that, I don't know, Dignitas wasn't anything mind-blowing for me, but certainly not something bad. It gives the cube a unique feel. I'm sure there's people out there who would love that feeling, just might not be for me. So in general, I don't think the Angstrom Lubes are something people like really need to get picked up. I think they're really good, and if you're someone who loves to experiment with cubes and set cubes up and find the optimal feel, definitely something that would be nice to add to the collection. I have pretty much every lube that you could need, and in my opinion, the average person, they only need a couple lubes to make a cube really nice or set them up in the majority of ways they would want. I would probably recommend Weight 5, D&M, Silk, Speedy. I think if you have those, you could set up most cubes probably however you want. I think that would cover you for the majority of cubes. So yeah, those are kind of my opinions on it. I hope that kind of helped you guys out. I know it wasn't necessarily super analyzed. I just kind of wanted to try it in cubes, give my live impressions, try something a little new. So let me know kind of how you guys felt about it. Things were a little more off the top of my head instead of scripting it out. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you later.